Mr. Chairman, I move that Resolution 13-177 pass first reading.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded for the explanation. Vice Chair Anderson.
Mr. Chairman, this resolution initiates amendments to the revised charter of the City and County of Honolulu relating to the Board of Water Supply.
Okay, thank you, Vice Chair. I know we have a list of registered speakers on Resolution 13-177. Fortunately, I don't have that list. Do we have a copy of the list for 13? Is there anyone? I know that I see the chief engineer wanting to testify. Come forward. And if anybody else, please just line up to my left on Resolution 13-177.
Good morning, Chair and Council members. My name is Ernest Lau, the Manager and Chief Engineer of the Honolulu Board of Water Supply. Before I start here, I would like to introduce some of our team at the BWS Ohana, my division heads and some of my staff. I'd like to start up. If you could please stand and we recognize Darryl Hiramoto. He's the head of our Field Operations Division here. Mr. Kevin Uhu, our Water System Operations Division Chief. He ensures that the water continues to flow and be pumped from our aquifers. Darryl also ensures that the water mains are repaired and the system is maintained on time. Mr. Jason Takaki, head of our Capital Projects Division. Jason's responsible for the CIP projects and ensuring that we replace pipelines, repair pump stations and reservoirs. Barry Usagawa, head of our Water Resources Division. Oh, right there. Barry looks at the resources themselves and how we can preserve and manage and protect those resources. Erwin Kawata, he's the head of our newly created Water Quality Division. We really stress quality and safety of the water, and because of that, I've been created actually under my term here since February of last year, a new division called the Water Quality Division. Tracy Burgle, head of our Communications Office. Karen Tom of our Human Resources Office. And Henderson Uhiba, head of our Information Technology Division. Henderson's back there. Mike Matsuo, head of our Land Division. And our Finance Division, Mr. Paul Kikuchi. And for our Customer Care Division, Ms. Susan Misugi. Are there any other BWS employees in the room? If I could ask you to stand and be recognized, are there any others? I notice possibly some on that side. This is part of the team that ensures that our water is safe, reliable, and affordable to our customers. And we are dedicated to keep that work going regardless of the time it takes to get it done. When there's a main break, we are there until the main is repaired, whether it be throughout the day into the next day or the following day. Our crews are committed to do that job. I'd like to just share my testimony. I know I have a time limit, Chair. Please keep me under discipline there. Regarding Resolution 13-177. The Board of Water Supply respectfully opposes City Council Resolution 13-177, which seeks to amend the revised city charter to require that decisions of BWS to condemn land be subject to review and approval by the City Council, to require that the proposed annual operating and capital budgets of the Board of Water Supply be subject to appropriation amendment by the City Council, and to clarify that the city ethical standards of conduct apply to the BWS and its policy-making board. The BWS does not feel that it is necessary for the council to review and approve any acquisition of property by eminent domain, purchase, lease, or otherwise for the construction, maintenance, extension, and operation of the waterworks system. This is contrary, what we feel, is to Hawaii Revised Statutes, Chapter 54-27. The Board of Water Supply opposes the proposal to submit the annual operating and capital budgets to the City Council for review, amendment, and approval, as the BWS does not receive any funding. funding from the city, it makes sense that the board has responsibility both to adopt rates and also to pass and approve budgets. We hold public meetings prior to doing that. We also comply with all of this Article 11 of the revised charter of the city and county of Honolulu and comply with the ethics laws. In closing, Chair, and to our customers, my sincere apology for the problems with the estimated bills. We really, really didn't want this to happen, and we are working very, very hard to correct this. My staff and I will be outside the hall here after this item on the agenda is concluded, and please come to see me. I would like to talk to you about your estimated bill and be sure I can get your name, your address, telephone number, and we'll follow up with you. So if there are any customers here with problems with estimated bills, please come and see us after this agenda item. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Members, any questions for the testifier? Any questions, members? No questions? Thank you. Thank you, sir. Anyone else? Or you have a question?
Or did you want to allow for public testimony? I can always recall the
Discussion?
afterwards.
Yeah, well, why don't we do that? Thank you. Thank you, Vice Chair. Okay, we'll call you back up during discussion. Okay, anyone else? Yeah, come, step forward, state your name for the record, offer your testimony.
Morning, Chair, Council members, D. City Hall, HDA. We submitted a written testimony that we stand by in opposition of Resolution 13177. Thank you.
Okay, members, any questions for the testifier? No questions, thank you. Next.
Hello, my name is Mahalani Seifer, and for disclosure purposes, I am a member of the Board of Water Supply, but I am speaking today as an individual and a retiree of the Board of Water Supply. So I did submit written testimony, but I wanted to emphasize something that maybe hasn't come to light, which might be an explanation for some of the problems that the department is having and why I speak in opposition to this resolution. The legislature created a semi-autonomous Board of Water Supply to separate it from politics. This is not to say that any of you here on the council or the mayor would inject politics into decisions on what should be done with water revenues. But the possibility was there in 1929, and it created many problems. So it led to the current semi-autonomous status of the Water Board. For 7 years, the Honolulu Board of Water Supply was operated and managed very carefully, many of its decisions influenced by the review of its management and budget office. But when Mayor Harris initiated a move in 1998-1999 to take over the Board of Water Supply's revenues to fill budget shortfalls, this council wisely blocked him from doing that. So the mayor appointed new members to fill vacancies on the board, and these members chose new management for the department. This new management, unfortunately, did not have the same careful and conservative policies as past managers. The first thing they did was abolish the Management and Budget Office. They initiated a re-engineering program ostensibly to avoid privatization of the water department, hired expensive lobbyists to curry favor with the council and the legislature, and they succeeded in getting a bill passed into law that authorized them to start the multi-skilled worker program as a cost-cutting measure. But hidden in the bill was the authority to grant bonuses to staff. They also hired a number of contract executives supposedly to train the BWS middle managers to do their jobs better. These same middle managers had been running the water department for decades with little or no problems. The Harris Board gave the manager and deputy exorbitant bonuses. In turn, the manager gave the contract executives large bonuses or pay increases for relatively little improvement. This occurred during a very brief period of 2 to 3 years between 2003 and 2005, I believe, and it was flagged and stopped as a result of the 2006 audit by the city auditor. To my knowledge and belief, there have been no such bonuses awarded since. I point this information out to you because the resolution we are considering today implies that A, the board has a history of inappropriate expenditures, B, that the board is incapable of managing its properties, and C, that the board is not accountable to the public that we serve. In fact, if you look at your water bill, you will find that the cost of water is a fraction of what our community is paying for sewer services, particularly the base charges which are tacked onto every bill. Who sets the sewer charge? Not the Board of Water Supply. As to the issue of managing properties, it is true that the Board of Water Supply has stubbornly held on to the Beartanya property for many decades, resisting numerous attempts by neighboring Queens Medical Center and others to acquire the property. In the recent past, perhaps with all good intentions, this council has urged the water department to make money off that
I'm
property.
going to have to ask you to summarize.
Okay,
You should know that as a former city clerk.
Yes, I forgot to say that also.
Former
Used to work
city
for you
clerk.
guys.
Don't think
So anyway,
please now.
I have concerns about the disposition of the property, but I have an open mind on that still. And then the last thing I wanted to say is that we are accountable, the water board members are approved by this council. So if you don't like what the water board is doing, you can disapprove an appointment by the mayor. And so you also can do audits, and actually I think audits are always good to have, independent audits, because they help us know, it's the kind of feedback where you know what needs to be improved. And that's what we really need to do, not change the whole thing and shift the focus of where the revenue should be spent. They really need to be spent only on water resources.
Thank you. Thank you for your testimony. Members, any questions for the testifier? Any questions, members? No, thank you. Next testifier, please, sir. State your name for the record. Offer your testimony.
Good morning. Thank you, Dan Purcell. I'd like to thank Councilmember Anderson for bringing this forward. We need more oversight of the water board. They have major systemic problems. The water lines themselves have a lot of problems. Customer service has a lot of problems. Billing has a lot of problems. I recently attended a board of directors meetings. They weren't quite sure how to handle me. They don't have members of the public attend their meetings. Basically, you have a board of directors that could solve all these problems, but for whatever reasons, they're incapable of doing it. Maybe it's because they're not compensated. Maybe it's because they serve on a lot of other boards and commissions or what have you. I don't know the gentleman you approved for appointment today, but I do know just from some basic Googling that he does run a company. Maybe has served as us on a board of directors for a bank. Maybe the people are just too busy. For whatever reasons, it's not working. This oversight is needed, and I appreciate that you'll be doing something. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for your testimony. Members, any questions for the testifier? No, thank you, sir. Anyone else? State your name for the record. Offer your testimony.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My name for the record is Dr. Jim Anthony, and in order to establish what little I have in the way of credentials, I'd like to say this. I've worked on water issues in this county and statewide for the last 30 years. I know of no bureaucratic entity in which I have less confidence than the Board of Water Supply. I think it is entirely egregious for the now director of the Board of Water Supply to come here in public before television cameras and in your presence to disinform you about what really goes on in the Board of Water Supply. I have made representations to the Board of Water Supply for the last 20 years and haven't been heard. 20 years and haven't been heard. There is something fundamentally wrong in the way that this Board of Water Supply operates and has operated for, at least in my memory, the last quarter of a century. It is long overdue for systemic, substantial reform. You need to start with the kind of people who get appointed to the Board of Water Supply. Most of them who sit on the Board of Water Supply are fundamentally ignorant about water issues, and they are then run by the professional bureaucrats from whom you heard this morning. You need to understand that water is the most precious and the most vulnerable of our natural resources. There are millions of gallons of water taken by private purveyors of water for which they do not pay a single penny. That needs to be looked at. Some of these may be state issues, but you know, you don't need a passport to go from this building to go to the State Division of Water Resources Management. There has been far too little interdepartmental cooperation between the Board of Water Supply, which is the biggest public purveyor of water in this county, and the State Commission on Water Resource Management. And if you don't mind my saying so, and this is a moment to be not only blunt, but honestly blunt, this council has a fundamental responsibility to proceed with this and more. I have only one objection, Mr. Chairman, to what is proposed and what is before the council this morning, and that is that it does not go far enough. I am prepared to come back to provide further information as how you can tighten this information. I didn't say tighten the screws, I said tighten this structure so that it serves this and future generations in the way that water is supposed to be managed based on the tenor and the substance of the Waihola decision. Our responsibility collectively on the matter of water, we are one Ohana. And on the matter of water, our job is to protect the resource for this and future generations. That, Mr. Chairman, is what is at stake. I thank you for the courtesy of hearing me out. Should be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Dr. Anthony. Members, any questions for Dr. Anthony? Councilmember Pine, please.
You said that there were people that take a bunch of water, but they don't pay. Who are those people?
Oh, there are lots of people. You can start with the United States Army, for example. I forget what the number is. Maybe Mr. Lau can refresh my memory. I think it's at least 40 million gallons of water a day for which the United States Army doesn't pay a penny. The Mormon Church in Laie takes water. They're permitted to take 3 million gallons of water a day. They don't pay a penny for that water. The Turtle Bay Resort out in Kahuku, they have a private system of taking water. They all got straws in the aquifer. Punahou School, a number of hotels, they all have private systems of water. This is a public resource. I'm stunned by this. They all take water, they all have straws in aquifers, and they do not pay a penny for the resource. There is something fundamentally wrong about this whole system. And in this day and age, we need to look at it. The list, Councilmember Pine, the list of private purveyors of water in this county is longer than one single 8.5 by 11 page single-spaced.
If you can get us that list, we would appreciate that.
I'd be delighted to provide it to your office.
Thank you.
Any further questions for Dr. Anthony? If not, thank you, Dr. Anthony.
Well, Mr. Chair, Chair, thank you for hearing me out, and I'm disappointed that there are no more questions, but maybe my phone will ring. Thank you.
Dr. Anthony. Maybe your phone will ring, but keep it on silent during the hearing. Thank you. Anyone else on Resolution 13-177? If not, I know the request was for the Chief Engineer, questioning by the Vice Chair. Vice Chair, please proceed.
Thank you, Chairman. Mr. Lau, again, thank you very much for being here with us this morning and being available to answer questions. First question I have is in regards to a question I've asked in the past. Who is the Board of Water Supply's bonding authority?
The bonding,
Who authorizes the Board of Water Supply to issue bonds?
the board has the authority to approve the issuance of revenue bonds. We do need to work with the BFS director with his authority to do that, so we do it jointly.
Okay. Are you aware of the process for the Honolulu Authority for Rapid Transportation to issue bonds?
No, sir, I'm not.
Okay. It's actually this council that has the bonding authority for the Honolulu Authority for Rapid Transportation, which is another semi-autonomous agency within the city and county of Honolulu. The other question, I'm sorry, go ahead, proceed.
May I ask for HART, is that for general obligation bonds or revenue bonds?
For HART, their bonds that are issued, they need to ask for council approval for that. They also have their budget that comes before the council. And after it comes before the council, then it has 3 readings. But the next question I wanted to ask you, Mr. Long, is if you were aware of how long the Board of Water Supply has had its own bonding authority.
I don't know, I really cannot tell you how long it's had that authority. I assume since the creation of the charter. I won't be able to answer definitively, but as long as I can remember. If I can make a distinction, the Board of Water Supply is financially self-sufficient based on water rates and fees. So our bonds are revenue bonds. We have to stand behind the repayment of those bonds. We are subject to rating by the bond rating agencies. We have a AA+ and a AA2 rating. currently. Thank you.
But if the board should default on their bonds, is it the city and county of Honolulu and the city taxpayer that's left holding the bag?
Sir, I can't answer that question. I would probably have to consult with our legal counsel, court counsel's office, if that is a default. But the Board of Water Supply is obligated to be self-sustaining, so we have to ensure that we do not issue more bond debt than we can afford to. There are bond ratios that we need to maintain to keep the high bond rating. The importance of maintaining a high bond rating is that we'll be afforded lower interest rates that over time is a tremendous savings to our customers in terms of interest costs on those bonds. So there are policies of the board and subject to annual audit by an independent financial audit firm. And also we have to maintain compliance with bond covenants. So these bond ratios are very important. So we watch our debt compared to our revenue to ensure that we have enough to make sure we have coverage for that debt.
Okay. Mr. Lau, again, thank you very much for being here. And the point of my questioning, honestly, was just to hear what your answers are and to give me an opportunity to understand exactly where you're coming from and for you to share that with the council to help us to gain some insight as to the way that the board issues their bonds and the requirements that you have. So thank you very much for that information.
Thank you, sir.
Any further questions for the chief engineer while we have him up here? If not, okay, Councilmember Bernard, please proceed.
Yeah, I just wanted to briefly touch upon one area. General Manager, my office continues to receive complaints of constituents about customer service. They've indicated that they've encountered long delays when they've contacted the Board of Water Supply customer service to try to get answers to their questions, and some of them, in fact, have not been able to get their phone calls returned. So I just wanted to emphasize that, if the board wants to demonstrate to the public its responsiveness and concerns for whatever issues they bring up, that we need to really address that concern and improve the operations of the board in that area along with other areas as well.
Thank you, sir. I hear that message loud and clear. Just some of the actions, we continue to work at this because we haven't really been able to drastically improve response or wait times, reduce the wait times. Some of the things we're doing, we are hiring additional staff to staff up, and this is part of the impact of going to monthly billing from bi-monthly residential billing. By next Monday, we're going to have 27 customer service reps working at the Board of Water Supply. We're looking at increasing our pre-audit finance staff to 20. It's 11 right now. We're going to be hiring 3 additional people to maintain the meters. And also we have 15 meter readers right now. We've also extended our hours of operation of call center 7:45 to 5:30. We've expanded online web services, put on the website right in the front, right in the middle, an estimated bill FAQ, frequently asked questions, online forms, so customers don't have to come in to, say, update their account information, start or stop services, email for automatic bill payment. We are also online offering credit card payments, Visa and MasterCard, and shortly we'll be looking at the ability for maybe partial payments to be made by our customers. And online bill presentment. We have the ability for customers to come into our office. The parking is free at the Board of Water Supply. If you can't find a place to park, we'll find a place for you to park. But hours of operation are Monday through Friday, except holidays, 7:45 to 4:30. We also encourage customers, because of the load on the call center, to use email and contact us at hbws.org, or also rely on the old-fashioned way of just mailing us a letter at 630 South Britannia Street, Honolulu, Hawaii 96843. Some of the longer-term issues, Councilmember, that we are investigating are, like I mentioned earlier, partial credit card payment online, customer access to our customer billing system online through the web, so we can access their own accounts, and also improvements to our phone system, including maybe the integrated voice response system and not the type of system. So those are some of the measures, but I hear you loud and clear. We need to improve our customer service, and we have my commitment.
Any further questions for the chief engineer while we have him up here? No? Okay, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Okay, members, we are in discussion. Any further discussion on Resolution 13-177? No further discussion, members? Okay, Vice Chair Anderson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As I know, this is first reading of this particular resolution, and being that this is first reading, I would greatly appreciate if my colleagues would join me in support of this measure to send it to committee, where we can have a full, open, honest discussion with the Board of Water Supply, the constituencies that we as council members represent, who are the ratepayers of the Board of Water Supply. In truth, members, what this measure will do, if it's passed by this council and approved by the mayor, is it will allow for the ratepayers, the voters of the city and county of Honolulu, to determine whether or not they wish to have the council have additional oversight of the Board of Water Supply. When it's all said and done, it really doesn't matter to me what we as council members feel or even what the administration feels. At the end of the day, all of us represent the people of the city and county of Honolulu. And I've always felt that they should have the final say on this particular matter. And if the charter amendment ultimately passes, it will go on the ballot for 2014 general election, and it will allow the people to decide. So with that, Mr. Chairman, I would like to ask that this measure pass first reading, and we be able to have an open, honest discussion in committee, and then see where we go. Thank you very much.
So, Leader Hariboro.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I am not in favor of this resolution. However, I will vote yes, simply to move it along to committee where we can have any other discussion. I guess I've always said that we need to have a full discussion on all proposals. But I want to make it clear that I have grave concerns about this. I understand that the public as well as members have concerns about some of the things that have been going on, but I think in committee we will have time to really look at the issues, and I really believe that the problems we have experienced really have been inherited by the current manager from past decisions before his time. And I think he's doing a good job trying to clean up these issues that he's inherited. He hasn't been there very long, but I think for myself, I've been very encouraged by what I see. I should disclose that I did work at the Board of Water Supply over 20 years ago, and one of the testifiers, I can confirm that what she said, it was a very well-run organization over 20 years ago when I was there. I saw it deteriorate a little bit, as she suggested, but I think I'm seeing very encouraging changes from the current management. So I really would like the opportunity to further discuss those issues and get down to the bottom of why we have these problems and what the current management is doing. So I look forward to a full discussion. Let me just end by saying that although people are calling for this council to increase our oversight over the Board of Water Supply, the way I see it actually is that we will dilute the authority and the accountability of the Board of Water Supply. When we have two masters, the accountability issue becomes very gray, and I would like to discuss that further in committee. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chair Leader. Councilmember Pine.
Thank you, Chair. I too will support passing this on first reading, mainly because of my concerns about how the actions of the Board of Water Supply is affecting my constituents. In my entire political career, I have never had this many calls, emotional calls from people who are suffering just to pay their bills based on decisions made by the Board of Water Supply. I've met with their staff so many times, and they are kind, they're decent people, they're hardworking. But in the end, we're a city organization, and in the end, we have to represent our constituents to make sure that they are not being treated unfairly. I urge the staff of the Board of Water Supply, and especially the board that adopts the budget for the Board of Water Supply, to to live like politicians, maybe just for this first couple of months as we're discussing these issues. I encourage you to go to McDonald's on Senior Bingo Day and talk story with the grandmas and the grandpas there and ask them, how's your water bill this month? And you will hear the most emotional comments that you will ever hear. Seniors that are on fixed incomes in shock that their bill increased up to 70%. Seniors and just regular local people just trying to survive who see this huge bill. One customer said they got a $10,000 bill. One customer that paid $400 a month was gone in Iraq for 6 months and yet had the same water bill. Go to Zippy's, talk to some local families who are going and buying the special menus that are on sale that day and ask them how they're doing. And you'll hear from families that are in shock every month with these huge water bills. They'll tell you how they've changed their habits. They take showers at the gym now. They reduce their showers completely. Their grass is completely dead because they don't water anymore. And they'll tell you that the next month that the water bill was the same. You know, I love Mark Caldwell because he comes up with these real quirky terms sometimes. And he came up with this term called political malpractice. And I said, what does that mean? And he says when you're a leader and you see something's going wrong and your people are hurting and you do nothing. So is this the solution? I don't really know. I'm still learning about the Board of Water Supply because this is my first time as a city council member. But I know that it's political malpractice if we allow our constituents to continue to suffer and to continue to be hurt by decisions. And so that's why, Mr. Chair, I'm going for this today. I hope we come up with a solution as we discuss these issues that are affecting our constituents.